Anti-Pope, Antichrist, and Principal Wardwell is anti-marriage. Little known fact, almonds hide the taste of cyanide. What the Dark Lord doesn't know will not hurt him. It's 4 funerals and a wedding. As we talk Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Part 2, Episode 5, Blackwood. The AfterBuzz After Show starts right now.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hail Satan! Hail Judas! As we get back right into a lot of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina talk, this was a chilling adventure to say the least. I don't know.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on, yeah.
There's a lot of satanic buffoonery going on here.
We got nothing last episode, and then we got everything this episode.
Yeah.
So much happened in this episode that I had to recheck to make sure that all this happened in this one episode.
I have usually 1 page of notes. It's 2 pages of bullet points and craziness.
Well, Elena's always 15 pages deep, so she
Yeah,
has so much to talk
This
about.
whole notebook
I don't
is
know how
all
you read.
this episode.
You actually need to pick it up, Brendan.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, that's the thing. Today we're going to talk so much, and of course, if you don't know the panel, you haven't been watching our after show because this is the panel of all panels. I am the host. My name is Tehran, but all the way to the left, I have the pun of puns, the pun and only Elena Jordan.
Hey, I'm Elena Jordan. And I got loving from a coven.
That's a real thing. That's how it is. A Ouija dress and all. And of course, next to her is the Wiccans of Wiccans, the Wick of Wicks. Brendan Haley's in the building.
And I put a spell on all y'all.
And now
I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know what kind of spell.
You don't like this spell, Dad?
I don't know.
Oh.
Okay, all right. Okay.
We
all
found
right.
Brendan's true identity.
And then, of
on
course,
this show.
the truest of all identities is right next to me, and that's the Veronica Valencia.
It's true. It's me.
It is. It is her. But you know what? You say that, but with all the glamours going on, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I don't know. Say something that proves to me that you're you.
I mean, as
Yeah,
far as
that's
we
it.
know.
That's all I need to know. I mean, no one else could do that. I mean, and we're talking so much stuff this week. We're talking the accident. Is it an accident or murder? Right. So accident or murder when it comes to Sabrina's parents. The ghost of Spellman's past. We get Edward Spellman's sighting. Edward Spellman's manifesto, which we bring up. Topless Nick, which gets its own segment. I have to say, the anti-pope is in the building. Weird Sisters, premonition or dream. The wedding. Marriage. We talk a lot of marriage. Bridezilla or Bridezelda. That's a good one. Hilda and Sister Jackson. Constance, the ex-wife, makes an appearance. Prudence, the Gutter Orphan. We need to talk about that. Adam and Wardwell. That ship has sailed.
I am
so to
spiritually
speak.
exhausted from hearing
It's
all of
so
that.
much. It's so much. And yet there's still more. The Dark Lord. Yes. Hail Satan. Hail Judas. And of course, Ambrose framed for murder. Nick and Sabrina get glamorous and then expelled. The dark design over there by Elena Jordan. And I'm sure she has a lot to say. And more importantly, let's get real witches. And it's reason because I need to talk some witchcraft stuff and see what's real and what's not as Brendan breaks down what's Wiccan and what's not. We have some news and gossip and so much more. Let's start with overall thoughts. Panel, what did you think of this episode, Elena?
I'm gonna clock it right now. Why did Sabrina's parents' plane go down? If it was on its way to Rome from the East Coast and they went down in the Bermuda Triangle. That makes no sense. The trajectory.
It was the Devil's Triangle.
They would have to go down past Florida and then
They don't say
like
the
a giant
Bermuda
V.
Triangle. They say the Devil's Triangle.
same
So
thing.
it's like, I mean, it's a moving thing and they're whatever.
They took a very roundabout way to get there. Let's say that.
Okay, fine.
Why would you assume that they left from...
Greendale's in the East Coast. It's by Riverdale.
Maybe they were doing something else.
But how do you know
first.
that's where
could have
they
been on a
left from?
trip.
Maybe they left from Jamaica,
Okay. Okay.
where they were visiting Ambrose's parents.
Oh.
Yeah, I had the same question. I had the same question. I actually had a lot of the same questions.
How
I
long is it
tried.
going to take for Tehran to break?
I tried. I had the same
Edward's like,
question.
I like riding in Bermuda. Don't ask questions.
Yeah, you don't know. You
I
don't
like
know their
getting
life.
risky with my flights.
Yeah, but I want to know your overall thoughts about the episode in its own.
Liked the episode. I personally, unpopular opinion, liked the last episode a little bit more. I like kind of the break from the norm, but I felt like diving into this one, since we did kind of have a little bit more of a whimsical, though still dark last episode, this one is really diving into like, okay, here's the plot, here's what's happening. Oh, the anti-pope is here, you're all excited, you think that maybe something good's gonna happen for Sabrina. Psych, murders.
Yeah, they are setting up everything. All the stops are coming out for this episode, and I honestly don't really know how to feel still because it's just a constant influx of information coming at me. There is so much on the satanic front from the anti-pope and that dynamic with Sabrina. Maybe she's possibly a biblical figure. We don't know. It's sort of we're getting like little hints about it. But the episode as a whole, I was into. I think there's a lot of fun stuff that they created and that they built upon, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Veronica.
Yeah, I agree. I love episodes that give you a lot of stuff to think about. And this episode, every single which way you turn there, we're throwing stuff at you left and right. And I also just like that this is the beginning stages that we are seeing of things about to burst into flames, which I love.
You love flames?
You're such a rabble-rouser.
I love flames.
Such a rabble-rouser. I loved this episode. There was so much that happened. This is the Sabrina that I know and love. The last episode was a great break, but it was just nothing happened. I love plots that push along the storyline, and this time it did. It had everything, almost too much stuffed into one single episode, which only lets me think that every episode from now on is going to be like, whoa! Like, just so much happened in this one episode. And it's interesting because that connection between Sabrina and Nick really does everything Sabrina's down for. Nick is really a ride or die. And now I feel bad for questioning his motives, because I thought maybe the motives was he somehow, and once again, I haven't binged this, so I don't know. So when I say things and they're wrong, it's not because I saw them all. So I thought his motive was he was working for the Dark Lord, or he had some alternative motive that we just weren't aware of, and he's just playing it so nice. But now it's like, man, this guy really likes Sabrina. Like,
even if that's true, it's hard to deny he's fallen for her.
I
They
feel
are
like
in
I'm
cahoots.
100% Team Nick, and I don't understand how after Hilda saw those abs, she is still Team Harvey.
oh my gosh, like when he came out, tub, I was like, yeah, hey Nick. Like, I was like, hey Nick. Here's the thing: there were some questionable things. The Devil's Triangle was definitely one questionable thing. How Nick was able to just go into the water and then pull out the book that no one else has ever thought to look for.
In 4 minutes, mind you.
In 4 minutes, because he can only hold his breath for that long.
And also battle a giant squid. I am quoting him.
Yeah.
A
And
giant squid.
That kind of stuff actually did stick out in my mind. There were a lot of loopholes in this one, but I gave it up for suspension of disbelief.
Well,
Like,
it's
I gave
also
it up.
fun. It's bonkers.
Yeah.
It ties into the comic book mentality and that whole genre, the whole
But they hadn't-
reason we
they
love
haven't
it.
been
making
doing that the
hyperbole
whole time.
realism, like that I would do anything for you. I would fight a giant squid in the bottom of the ocean, and she's like, "Cool, will you do that real quick? Like, I legit
will.
need you to do that."
Yeah, and Sabrina's kind of she's okay. Here's something that's played out, and you threw out, Elena, you threw out an unpopular opinion. I'm gonna throw out an unpopular opinion. Sabrina's actually a really selfish character. She wants everything done her way and for her reasons and her perspective. She doesn't really let other people talk, and whether she's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. The concept is she's really just thinking about herself. And it comes out to play when we get the B plot back at the school, but it really just played out. It was just something.
And she
that's-
doesn't realize it either.
She
Yeah,
does. She does. I mean, and I'll tell you, because she keeps asking Nick to stay away from the Weird Sisters, go and dive, get expelled from. Because here's something people don't realize about Sabrina has a mortal world to go back to. Nick has nothing.
Yeah,
But does she really?
She does.
well, not now. I mean, that's like the whole thing that they talk about is, like you tried to go back at least. Like, I get where
Yeah,
he's,
but she's
like,
in
he's
and
got
out of school.
nothing.
Like, I don't know how their attendance policy works, but she
because
goes
Miss
in. She
Wardwell
goes.
is just like,
Yeah.
whatever you want.
I'm not watching after you anymore.
Yeah.
Do you guys just finish each other's songs now? Is that how that
Yes.
works?
They are the Weird Sisters.
They
That's
are.
We're
what
the
happened.
Weird Sisters
They're
now.
the
We're too
Weirder
far away to
Sisters.
link pinkies to be
Well,
simultaneous.
Let's
so.
talk about this. Was it an accident or a murder? Spellman's death. Edward Spellman's death, accident or murder?
I'm going to say murder. I'm a call it.
Two things. I just want to piggyback to what you were saying, Tehran. I don't think it's an unpopular opinion in saying Sabrina is selfish. I think that she is. She always comes from a place. She always comes from a good place. Her heart
The
is always
road
there.
to hell is paved.
But she does do things for her own gain sometimes. So we get it. This, I believe it's a murder. And I had this theory last season too, because as we heard, their plane went down going to the Vatican. Ambrose got under house arrest for attempting to blow up the Vatican. So I always thought those two things were connected. And when we dive into this episode, it makes sense that yes, Edward would have to be out of the picture.
Also, why they gotta fly on a plane when they can teleport? I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on the
it's
plane.
true.
I
It's
know.
so true.
I know.
It does seem like, oh, the
Let us know in
plane's
the
going
comments,
down.
guys.
Let's teleport out of this SOB to somewhere safe, you know? Like, even if you're like, I'll take a plane because we're...
Well, you could be.
Oh, because
there could be
Diana's
a-
mortal, and he would have had to leave her, and she would have died alone. He's not going to leave her.
That is why.
That's why we just
We are
answered
doing
our own
this.
So
question.
we can't teleport
Boom.
mortals?
No.
Not like, oh, I'm like holding your hand. Come with me.
Oh, like
I don't know how that
like
works.
a
We
sort
haven't
of Harry
seen it in
Potter
this
type
one.
of
Harry
thing.
Potter we can, but they also use polyjuice potion way more sparingly than they use glamours here, so I don't know.
But the
Yeah.
witches
Rules are
aren't
different.
immortal.
They just live longer.
They live a long time, though.
Yeah, but that's not immortal.
They're
Immortal
not
is
immortal,
like
but they
don't
call
die.
the other ones
They-
mortals.
Exactly. Like, sure, it's like peasants or humans. I called my family all three. Here's the thing. It's like, don't speak mere mortals. Like, I would say that to my mom. Here's the thing about that. Why it has to be murder? Because it's Edward Spellman. You are the most powerful warlock in possibly the history of warlocks, the most respected, powerful warlock. You know magic upon magic people don't know. You couldn't figure out a way to save a plane from crashing? There's got to be more to that story.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, there has to be some sort of other element. It's got to be murder.
So
Yeah.
the case
Yeah.
is not completely closed yet.
And they were like, oh, there's an independent investigation. You can't investigate Edward Spellman. That's my only concern. Now, if Sabrina dies in a plane crash, you know, hell forbid, then I understand that. Sabrina's not there yet. Nicholas isn't there yet. But Edward Spellman?
Yeah, it seems too sketchy. I think it's definitely 100% murder.
Edward
100.
Spellman. It is, right? It's murder.
Yeah.
It's murder.
And especially in this episode, it makes more sense because Edward was obviously on a mission to make the Church of Night more progressive, which most of the coven is, especially Father Blackwood, is very much against. So yeah, there's definitely a motive too.
And Blackwood's just a creepy,
Is it
spooky,
Blackwood?
douchey dude. Yeah, I think so.
It's heavily alluded to that
Yes.
it's Blackwood, and the fact that this whole episode sets up the theme of men versus women, witches versus warlock. I think that's kind of what we're moving toward, unless they pull the rug from underneath us halfway through.
Which they've done.
Which they've done.
Yeah.
Which is
Swerve.
so. Let's talk about the ghost of Spellman, right? Edward Spellman comes back. We see a ghost.
Wardwell.
I know
you
Wardwell
crafty
again.
minx.
Here's the thing. How do you trust anything? You brought this up on our last episode, Elena. How do you trust anything in this world? Everything is magic. I don't know how people just readily accept everything at face value when everything is magic. Everything is magic here.
I would not trust anybody because of all those dadgum glamours. If something feels off, it's off. Like, when has your dad ever been like, hey, I'm hanging out in the bar. Also, it's cool that you're drinking absinthe in the middle of the day. Don't worry about that. I got something else to talk about. It's like, what?
I was murdered, and I've never brought this up before,
Not
ever.
once. I mean, they do the whole illusion of like, oh, well, yeah, weddings do bring out hauntings. And it's like,
You're
weak.
just saying that.
No,
Yeah.
the only spirits that come out during weddings are alcoholic. And she was drinking absinthe.
The best kind of spirit.
But the concept is no one. So when we saw all of it, no one on the panel believed that was the ghost of Spellman Past.
No!
It was a trick from the get-go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, they immediately revealed it where Wardwell's just like, plots.
But it's also why it's baffling to me how Sabrina would believe it right away too, because wouldn't she think, why am I seeing my dad now? Why wouldn't I
Yeah.
have seen him when I'm a little kid? Maybe just looking after me, making sure that I'm okay.
Well,
Out
I'm
of his-
giving into the superstition that weddings bring out hauntings, but not Edward Spellman. See, Sabrina's already seen her mom, and we saw like a vision of her mom. Why didn't the mom say something? Why didn't mom go, Sabrina, by the way, we were murdered.
Yeah, like it seems like it would have been brought up, that whole thing with Diana last season. It was, I don't know. I think Sabrina right now is just like, oh, this fits what I want and
Exactly.
what Wardwell has
And
set up.
That's where I got the selfish Sabrina. Selfish Sabrina sees something and goes, this is my perspective. I'm open-minded, but if you disagree with my perspective, you're wrong. And that's the Sabrina that I'm feeling. And even though I still love Sabrina so much, it's just, it really does bother me.
I'll give you that. I mean, like if this was called The Chilling Adventures of Prudence, Sabrina would be the villain in the story.
Would be the villain.
kind of,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
It's all about perspective. So, and this one, I just don't understand why she doesn't have a little bit more perspective. Understand that that's not your daddy.
And and this is, hey, your aunt's getting married, for better or for worse. I don't care what your thoughts are on the concept. You are the child, and also you don't get to place moral judgment on your aunt. Your aunt wants to get married for her own reasons. It's her aunt. But you have to believe in you have to believe in the ghost because I saw a ghost and I'm Sabrina. Would she have believed if someone else said it?
Maybe, maybe not.
Maybe. We'll never know.
I don't know. I'll tell you this, though. I'll tell you where people do believe. People believe here at AfterBuzz. And I want to thank each and every one of you for making us the ESPN, I'll say it for you, Elena, the ESPN of TV talk. One of you want to take it away? I was lobbing
I thought
it to
you were going to continue
No.
to let everybody know how much we appreciate every time that they comment and subscribe and rate and give us those thumbs up, especially on iTunes, because that bumps us up in the search. And we want people to be able to find us because, sometimes people put enchantments, hide things. Like most
Glamours.
things are hidden here in Sabrina. We don't want to be hidden. We want you to tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coven. Everybody watch us.
And give us that 5-star
Hey.
ratings that we so greatly deserve, especially on iTunes. Comment on iTunes because that bumps us up to the top. And honestly, I've listened to the other Sabrina shows, especially with the dark design and Let's Get Real Witches, which are special segments with 2 special experts. No one's as comprehensive as us, to be very honest.
We're dope. Thanks for
do.
listening.
We are. And when I
Our
say we, I'm actually including all of you at home. I'm talking about the panel that comments and tells us what they think because they have some of the best theories on the show that actually influence the way I watch the show. So we appreciate each and every one of you at home. Thank you so much, and continue to make us great because you guys are all great.
Yeah, click the subscribe button and give us a like in our personal Book of the Beast.
Yes.
I just thought of that right now. Oh my God.
So strong. Books wise, right? So we get Edward Spellman's manifesto.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Which is shocking.
oh,
The five facets
tenets
of Judas
Yeah.
versus
How it
the...
survived being in the water.
Exactly.
That's what I
For
was like.
16 years.
They should have said something, right? So the concept is here we are with some of the best, my favorite. Like I'm telling you, I talk about the writing of Sabrina so much because it's so good. So often are reboots garbage. So much are they just parodies and mockeries of the originals. This retelling is amazing. It's its own show. You can say stuff about Sabrina the Teenage Witch, but this show is not that show. This is
No.
This is a show that happens to be of the same name, same heritage, but very different. How come they didn't think of there's a warlock spell that only someone who Sabrina loves can unlock or something like that? Just a couple lines of writing to make me believe
just
it.
a couple things thrown in would have probably helped a little bit, but just trying to take it at face value. Because it also was like, okay, then you have to have this big elaborate plot of like, thank goodness Ambrose is now like the right-hand man and not Lucas so that he can let Sabrina in so then she can bring her manifesto so then it'll rival the other one. I'm like, the anti-pope literally comes up to you and is like, man, I really wish I could have read that thing your dad wrote. Wouldn't that have been the perfect time to be like, funny, you should say that, anti-pope. Look what I got in front of everyone and everyone could see what happened. So then you don't give Faustus the opportunity to secretly murder him or try to take him out. It's like Sabrina.
Sabrina likes to go out with a bang. That's not how she would have. She likes to really want.
That's
She wants
actually
those
kind of
Elle
a-
Woods
Blackwood.
moments. She wants that like the zing. And I'm
But
like,
that's kind of a
girl.
bang in front of everybody. I feel like that's a bang.
Yeah, I feel like if you're
I wish
like,
I could've
here's
read that.
this. Look what I
No,
got.
it's not even with me. I'm a witch though. and it
Oh, that's so funny. My dad actually, I found it. here you go. I mean, come on now. And if it's like, oh, I gotta go get it, then insult Prudence and call her like Gutter Orphan some more, and then come back, have the book done.
But the 5 tenets, or what are they called exactly?
Well, there were the 5 facets of Judas, which were
Blackwoods.
but this one was just Edward's 5 tenets.
5 tenets, right?
Yeah.
So his 5 tenets were way better than Blackwood's 5 tenets.
Very progressive.
yeah.
Very progressive. Blackwoods were very, very conservative. Not even conservative. They were just backwards.
Yeah,
have
xenophobic,
one, too.
misogynistic, it's just terrible.
Do you want to hear
Edward
each one
Spellmans
versus?
were like, everyone's good,
Yes.
and let's be great, and let's all work together. And Blackwoods were like,
5
women should shut up and cook.
Well, the 5 facets of Judas, the first one is that as sons of Satan, they are heirs of the earth, and they should take whatever they feel fit by fire, blood, and deceit, as is their right.
Yeah.
Whereas
Sounds like rape.
Edward says,
Okay.
yeah,
And
basically,
pillage and plundering.
Mortals said that mortals are the god spawn of earth, and witches are the hell spawn. We share a common home and a common destiny. Whereas the second one, mortals are the swine of the earth, and we shall not lay with them. Edward says, not only may witch kind lay with love and live with mortals, it is their sacred prerogative. The third is that the sons of Satan, they are the swineherds of man. He says, as Lilith was mother of demons, so witches must be revered as the matriarchs of the Church of Night. Whereas Blackwood says, as Lilith serves Satan, so must witches serve warlocks. So
Sheesh.
this is all like the same
I'm
perspective.
kind of
but
on board with
switch.
that one, but sheesh.
It's interesting to me because in Wiccan culture, pagan culture, all that stuff, men and women, there is no hierarchy. They're viewed as equal, which ties into a lot of Native American beliefs as well. Specifically, the concept of two-spirit, where you had both the male and the female. So I think it's really interesting when shows like Sabrina or last year we had American Horror Story Apocalypse, where they pit these two groups of witches and warlocks against one another in a very battle of the sexes way.
I'm going to throw out a little more interesting facts. So we get the word magic from the word magi, which is actually where the word comes from, Zoroastrian priests. So if you remember the 3 magi's or wise men that visit Jesus at his birth, they're these 3 Persian Zoroastrian priests. And more importantly, in tradition at that time, there was no difference between men and women, to the fact that in Farsi, in Persian language, we don't have a word for he or she. You cannot express that. So frequently my father will call my sister he, simply because that pronoun doesn't specifically exist. You can explain that someone's a female or someone's a male, but you can't use the term. There is no gender specific talk.
And it's sort of that same sentiment, like tying it back to the Native American thing I brought up. In that culture, the two-spirit, when you identified as not fully male or not fully female or somewhere in between, sidebar, they had like 5 gender spectrums that you could identify.
Well, depending on which tribe.
Depending on what tribe, of course. But this is something that I was fascinated to discover, because it also is a plot point that is used in Theo's story a little bit. We get to see this over the last few episodes. We get to see Theo go through the journey that I believe is a two-spirit folktale. I couldn't find the name of it, but it was referenced in one of the articles I was reading online in my research.
Interesting. I mean, it's the concept. This gender-specific notion is something that's actually, I wouldn't say new, but it's a part of the hierarchy that continues in a separate Western tradition that exists, and we kind of apply it to everything now. But that actually wasn't the way. Even when referencing back to that Persian history, the Greeks and the Romans used to mock the Persians for having female generals. And there's a scene in the movie 300 where the messenger is like, oh, you let your women speak, the Persian messenger, who's this black guy. So you let the Persian speak. And of course, Gerard Butler's character, this is Sparta, and kicks them into the well. You know, that actually would never have happened.
Yeah.
Ancient Persia, women were equal to men in every way. Generals owned land, voted, the whole nine.
I think as far as for Sabrina and American Horror Story and kind of the rise of the modern witch culture and this kind of phenomenon that has taken hold, there actually was some psychological studies that were done recently, because since the emergence of the Me Too movement and the Time's Up movement and everything, there's actually been a lot more people converting to Wicca in astronomical numbers, more than has been seen in the past probably 50 years or so.
It is truly a unique culture, and I think these kind of shows, it intrigues people so much more to this spiritual belief system, and I think it's so fascinating that people still to this day are captivated by it and drawn to it in different ways. Like I did for my work outside of AfterBuzz, I did an article last year on why so many gay men form their own covens, and it's honestly quite fascinating. So
and what I was just going to say was that the studies were basically just saying that the emergence of this is because it is something that is so centered on the power of females and female power, which is why it's interesting that Sabrina is using this to kind of subvert, and is why it's kind of altering that a little bit to make a certain personification of that toxic masculinity and making Father Blackwood the representation of this entire oppressor.
Exactly.
So I think that they do such a good job of kind of, because in a show like this, you can't just have, there's general oppression all over the place. You have to have something targeted so that way you see multiple people overcoming it. So, and working together to overcome it. So I thought this episode was so good about really focusing on that, and especially having the Father Blackwood, like literally killing the anti-pope, using other people to do so, I thought was such a poignant thing too, about how, it is this idea that nobody can even get close to him, because anybody who gets close to him, he just kills off.
He just kills. And that's, on that notion, and what you said was very powerful and important. I want to talk about something that's even more powerful and important. Topless Nick.
Gosh.
Veronica, please let us know your thoughts on Topless Nick.
Good Topless Nick.
Yeah, because I
I want that to be a thing in every single episode now. You know how what was it? Taylor Lautner in Twilight had to be.
Oh, in his contract.
Yeah, in his contract had to have a certain amount of time where he was shirtless. Yeah, let's do that.
I'm
We're
on
getting
board.
real Teen Wolfie with this one. I'm into it.
Best part, look, I love this episode. That was still the best part. Calm down, Nick. Calm down, buddy.
I'm sorry though, Hilda, what are you doing? Get out of here. Put a shirt on and come be bait, Sabrina. How about GTFO, Aunt Hilda?
I'm so sorry. Aunt Hilda. Didn't allow the teenagers to just be naked in the bathtub
she's
together.
also in the bathroom. Knock.
Oh, okay.
There's no such thing as knocking.
I was gonna say,
maybe
it's
you're
your
doing
family.
a spell. Maybe you're pooping. You don't know. You don't want people walking in on you either way.
Yeah, but guess what? They were doing neither. There was a topless Nick. Now,
Yeah, well.
don't look at this as Sabrina. Think of this like if your mom had caught you with topless Nick. Yeah.
And I was like, hey, he just fought a giant squid to get Dad's manifesto because he may or may not have been murdered. Let's take out Father Blackwood. Common enemy, unite. Don't be distracted by the abs.
I would have been like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Put on a shirt, Nick. I would have been like, yo, you need to put on a shirt.
What'd you just say?
never
I was
said that.
very distracted by the abs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked really quickly about the anti-pope. Let's talk a little more. Anti-pope is definitely a central figure in this storyline. What were your thoughts on the anti-pope?
I
Elena?
thought Ray Wise playing the anti-pope was amazing because he always plays the devil. He was
Yeah.
the devil in Reaper. I'm like, he was in Dead Like Me. He's just always the freaking devil. I'm like, Ray Wise.
He's so suave, too.
I know. I was like, you handsome devil,
Like,
literally.
He shouldn't be perving on literally everyone. But at the
Everybody.
same time, he's just like, oh, yes, Sabrina, who is this tasty little shish kebab?
I'm very happy that you brought that up, Brennan, because I was like, as soon as he appeared, I'm like, this guy pervy.
Yeah,
100%.
Is he super perfect? Yeah.
Oh,
I
your
feel
sweet,
like
innocent
pervy,
face.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
But
was
that's
kind of
because
that way
their
with
Dark
both.
Lord is pervy. Like, that's his whole thing, is he's
Yeah.
like, oh, you're getting married? Let me get some of that first. Hold on. Like, you know?
The thing
God.
that frustrated me about the arrival of the anti-pope was Sabrina didn't use it to her advantage. He was clearly enamored by Edward Spellman, and, you know, he was completely kind of ignoring Father Blackwood once he was like, oh, Sabrina, daughter of Edward. And she didn't, like we were all saying, she didn't use that to her advantage to kind of insert her own personal goals.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing in the terms that it could have been made easier for her to push her agenda. But at the same time, she's not that kind of person where she's going to use her sexuality or her body essentially to.
Oh, I just meant her name.
Yeah, it's
I
not
see what you
even.
mean.
Yeah, like it's literally just because he's like, "Wow, your dad
Way to
was
jump
so
to that, you
genius."
straight white male, you.
I'm not straight.
But I'm saying,
But that was the random thought that you had.
hella gay.
Yeah.
I've sucked many.
It just went.
Moving on.
So the concept is the anti-pope. We did all see that there were better ways for Sabrina to have allowed him, or at least given him Edward Spellman's tenets. There were better ways. There could have been a better conversation. But as a character, we all enjoyed him.
yeah, until his untimely.
Demise. Did you see the demise coming?
I mean, I assumed just because it's like if Father Blackwood is like, I'm gonna kill anybody who gets in my path, and then he has that creepy monologue to his baby where he's like, don't
I would not want to
little
be his
Judas.
child. My
Yeah.
gosh, that poor child.
I did love, though, that it was a couple episodes ago that we find out that Leviathan is missing and that Ambrose is so mad because he thinks Salem ate it. And then it turns out it was in him the whole time.
It was inside him, and that was crazy because Anti-Pope gets murdered by Ambrose and the boys, and it's a setup by Blackwood. His demise sets a lot of things up.
What a rat.
And did you guys notice that we were introduced to this concept with, not Hilda, Zelda during the play when the frog was teleported into her throat?
Yes.
Yes,
So there was-
exactly.
yeah.
There was like a sign of that, and I really enjoyed that part too. Like I said, everything in Sabrina does have a purpose and a point when it comes back. Anti-Pope's murder, gruesome. Ambrose, guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
No, Leviathan did it.
Under Blackwood's influence,
Yeah.
might I add.
So we're all going with the frog made him do it.
Yes.
Well, again,
Okay.
it goes back to the point of
His
that
mouth.
Ambrose. Yes, that too, but also that Ambrose is easily manipulated. He is just the most there for Blackwood's use, whereas everyone else, besides maybe Hilda, but she's not really in the picture, puts up a fight and resists him.
Yeah, and because Blackwood is already, I mean, like how Dorian says, is he's like, everybody who gets close to him ends up biting the
Dead.
bullet ultimately, and it's like he basically just has this revolving door of his like Judas boys, and he's like, here, do my bidding. To him, they really are just minions. They're just replaceable.
Well, we also get the storyline of the weird sisters who come up with this dream premonition in the beginning. The Spellmans are going to ruin you or ruin
I love when
us.
they're so creepy and they talk in unison.
The little
Yeah.
pinky thing.
Yeah.
Pinky promise.
You know what Daddy likes.
Want to touch my face?
This
Yeah,
is
also like
ironclad.
Father Blackwood, you deserve whatever you got. Like you've been warned so many times. I hope something horrible just happens to you and that everybody can be like, how many times did we tell you so? Just stand over you and mock you.
Yeah.
Father Blackwood, I mean, he's a great
Villain.
nemesis. He's a great villain.
Yeah.
He represents so much.
Also, those nails are always on point.
I know,
Oh, no,
right?
they're gross.
Like
They're
literally
gross.
point.
But yeah, literally point. What did you guys think about the appearance we got from Lady Blackwood though?
The ghost pops up. Here we get the ghost. The ghost roams around.
Shirley, what the heck? Like, let the woman rest in peace. You're going to sit here and, like, lie to a ghost to get a ghost to do your bidding because you're mad that, like, somebody's brother didn't want to bang you? Calm down, crazy.
Well, I was gonna say, it's like Shirley has to have some bigger motive than like, oh, I just don't like how Zelda is kind of getting whatever she wants because she's closer to Father Blackwood. And I like that we established that there was something more to her bitterness towards the Spellmans.
I like way more that we have Hilda take care of it like a gangster.
Yeah,
Hilda takes care of it like a gangster.
Hey.
Basically, she went nuts.
She did. But it's like,
Almonds,
pun.
hide cyanide.
it's such a Hilda way of going out, though. Oh, almond disguises the taste of cyanide. You ate my cookies. Ha ha ha, you did.
Yeah.
I loved
And
it.
cyanide is sweet.
I also love how she was just so casual about ghosts, which are a topic that very much terrify me. But she was just like, they're like moths. They just can't resist like a creepy lace. I was gonna say
Candle
wig.
and black
Yeah,
lace.
Yeah,
I can't resist a lace wig, but
honey. Give me
ghost?
a lace tablecloth, honey.
But when
I
it
do
comes
like
to
candles.
when it comes to the Hilda taking care of Shirley Jackson situation, the conversation, I feel this is on par with the concept of the strong Hilda we were seeing, and she even says it. People get me wrong, take me wrong all the time. Mm-hmm. They don't know how I truly am. They don't
think
get
I'm
it.
meek and mild.
Exactly. They think I'm meek and mild. I love my sister, and I'll do anything for my family.
Well, all three of the Spellman women are written so strong.
They are.
Even if they have, their moments of insecurity or if they're consumed by a fault of theirs, they're still hella strong.
All of
They
them.
are. And obviously, it's like day and night with Zelda and Hilda. Zelda's obviously much more forward. She's a little bit more ruthless in her ways of getting back at people, whereas Hilda, often, as I had said, goes dismissed because she's a little bit more sweet, but she still takes care of business when she has to.
Oh, she does. But
cyanide
as
is
Satan
sweet
my
too,
witness,
as she shows us.
if you
like an
hurt my
almond.
family, there will be heaven to play. There will be heaven to pay. She says it straight up. And of course, I don't think we'll hear anything more from Sister Jackson.
Bye, Shirley.
I think, bye, Felicia. So then we also have the storyline of Prudence, the Gutter Orphan. And I get the Gutter Orphan because that is what Blackwood says specifically when asked. When the anti-pope goes, who are these? Who are they? Who are these girls? And then he says, oh, they're the Gutter Orphans. And Prudence is hurt so much by that.
That she's gonna stab Father Blackwood to death in his
Yeah,
sleep.
she
I
is.
love that that's what he's like. That's what a Blackwood would do. You were
Mm-hmm.
gonna stab me in my sleep before that person
Yeah.
screamed.
I like
You're
that.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he likes that.
I mean, it makes sense because it's like how
Ruthless.
Hilda is so dedicated to her family. This is somebody who is so dedicated to the idea of being a Blackwood that they would literally kill another Blackwood just because if I can't have the name, you can't have it.
I didn't think it was the dedication to the family. I thought it was the ruthless and connivingness.
But I
of
think
it all.
that's how he
The
sees
evil.
it.
It's
He's seeing is
you're
like,
evil,
oh,
like we're
this is-
evil. Oh, you're in. I didn't realize that you were willing to go this far for something you
Yeah.
wanted. This is how far you're going for something you want.
And for
you're in. You're one. You must have my blood in your veins.
Yeah, and for a guy who is so against the women in this story having their own rights, he's very much into / turned on by when these strong women stand up for themselves.
Sure, but he's also turned on by making them subservient to him.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'm breaking the wild horse. I'm taming this wild horse that no one can tame or is untamable. And we find a lot of that in Father Blackwood. Let's talk about the wedding itself. Is the wedding weird to you? Is it strange?
Yeah, because it's also a funeral.
Yeah.
we got to call it. That's why I said 4 funerals and a wedding in this
And the
one.
bride's like, I'm not really down with this being the scenario. And also, you've imprisoned my nephew. And Father Blackwood's like, well, dude, bro, who was going to perform our wedding is dead. So
I'm going to do
bow
it.
down to me, witch.
Very much,
that's
very much,
basically-
yeah, very much a power trip. I am getting married, but I'm gonna do it myself.
Yeah.
Ha, ha, ha.
And
It's a
there's
business
no back
transaction.
and forth. It's all like, you will worship me. You will be like, you will do everything I say. You'll do my bidding.
Which
and
again-
even when they leave, like, walk behind me.
Which again, at that point, I'm surprised Zelda didn't be like, hold on a second.
She just
Wait.
wants the power. She wants to get
She
her
does.
family's
She
name
knows where
back.
she's gonna get. She's gonna work her way. You get in, get in, and then you get on.
But I feel like it's going to be difficult for her because I truly believe that Father Blackwood's marriage to Zelda is just a way to keep the Spellmans in place.
He thinks so.
He
I think
thinks so.
100%.
They're both playing each
But
other.
they're both playing each other. That's the concept of marriage, right? So there's always a concept where marriage is like, oh, it's 2 people in love, and yet traditionally marriage was about the consolidation of power, right? And that's what we see in this marriage. And we have that discussion as we have an opposition to this marriage in Adam and Wardwell. They have a conversation about marriage, and Adam wants to get married, and Miss Wardwell sees it completely on the other shoe, Adam brings up two people. Marriage to him is two people declaring their love for each other for the world to celebrate. It's a blessing. And Wardwell says for the man, perhaps, and then goes on about how if it was, then we wouldn't dress it up and throw rose petals in her way. Marriage to Miss Wardwell is a walk down the primrose path towards a woman's destruction. It's nothing less than the complete obliteration of a woman's personhood. It takes everything from her body, her independence, even her soul, and gives nothing in return. Nothing she'd want at any rate.
I thought that was a truly beautiful monologue by Michelle Gomez.
Beautiful. I thought it should be a Hallmark card. Like that's it actually convinced me. I actually broke up with my fiance after hearing that. I was like, no.
It makes sense for
Congratulations,
Lilith.
Sorry.
I mean, I wasn't engaged, but I actually asked someone to marry me. And then when they said yes, I explained this to them. So
I just love that Adam still thinking that it's Mary, not this demon that has stolen her body. Still weird and sad. But that he's like, look, if somebody hurt you, whether it was before me or even if you cheated on me when I was gone and somebody broke your heart, just know I'll never do that to you. I'm like,
sweetest guy ever. Adam to me is like a demon. Go on.
Well, I was just saying, to be perfectly honest, I was surprised he stayed around this long because knowing Principal Wardwell, she could have easily gotten rid of him and just been like, oh, Adam is off traveling like he was before he popped up in
that was the concept in the beginning, but then somehow she's enamored by him.
Man.
That was some hell of a foot rub. And then the concept is, do we trust Adam? Is Adam just a good guy, or is he a demon in disguise waiting for something to happen?
I don't think he's a demon. I think the only thing demon-esque about him is that he is Wardwell's temptation. He's representing the life that she can never have because she's signed her book in the Book of the Beast, and she serves Lucifer now, and it's everything
what
that
could have been.
Yeah, it's haunting her.
She's the first name, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very refreshing to have a mortal who has nothing to do with the witch world. Obviously, we have Roz, Theo, and Harvey, but they're very much involved, so it's refreshing to have that.
Well, the Dark Lord doesn't think so, and the Dark Lord basically gives her an ultimatum and takes.
Yeah. Dark Lord was like real messed up this episode. Like that scene with Zelda before her wedding night. Like
it actually went to play with my idea that maybe he's Sabrina's real father, because I threw that out 2 or 3 episodes ago. Well, in this one, it's like if he can have sex with the bride right before, then how?
But it's a witch. Diana was a mortal.
So how come he can't impregnate them? That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, it could be the same logic as
it could, but it's like
the Virgin Mary.
But she's not offered up. It's like the witches, because they signed their name in the Book of the Beast. They offered that covenant where they're like, if I get married the night before, if you want to basically come get all rapey
I don't know
before
if
my wedding.
the Dark Lord needs that kind of consent. I'm not really feeling the. We're giving the devil a lot of.
But I'm saying in this episode they explicitly explain that those are the rules. So that's what I'm reiterating as to why he is here. I mean, that's a totally separate thing.
Sure,
that you're
but that's what
talking
I'm
about.
saying.
But
I'm saying it's possible that a lot more. That's why I'm wondering where Hilda plays, because Hilda has some secret, in my opinion, and I think that might be the play. Because to me, Sabrina's not just half witch, half mortal. She can't be the first one. There has to be a witch that's hit, a mortal,
but I'm just saying
vice
that one
versa.
scene, that acting, holy hell, the tears in her eyes, and
They're so real.
if the Pope hadn't have been murdered, then and screamed and distracted everybody, it's like.
But on one hand, Zelda wanted this.
She didn't really, though. That was the whole thing. Like
she wants the formality of it. She wants all of the things that come with being the perfect. The perfect worshiper of the Dark Lord. She wants to have that status. She doesn't necessarily want to be sexually assaulted by him.
So I agree completely. Piggyback on what you're saying, Brandon. She doesn't want that. She just, as you were saying, wants to be the perfect servant. She sees that anything having to do with the Dark Lord as like the highest gift you can possibly have, and so she thinks by allowing that, it's
but she's happy the whole time until it actually happens. She's wanting this, she's looking forward to it, she's like, this has to happen because it makes her so important, and then when it happens, she she
Because
has
she
these
wants
tears
to go
of
with the
fear.
rules. It kind of reminds me almost like if you watch Handmaid's Tale, it seems like she's one of the wives in Handmaid's Tale that's almost complicit in their own dehumanization. And I feel like that's a big part of Zelda's character. And we've even seen her, in constant competition with the other women and kind of representing this woman who doesn't quite understand connection with other people is more important than actual quest for power. So it's Hilda that grounds her and has them kind of as a foil for each other. So seeing that moment where Hilda's like, maybe you won't come, and that's okay too. Like, if this isn't what the church says is the highest honor, if you don't get that and if you're scared, that's all right. And then she comes to terms with that where she's like, okay, maybe this is okay. Lets her guard down for just a second. And that's when he appears.
That's how he does it. Let's get into really quick Ambrose being framed for murder. Sheesh. That's definitely a storyline that we can't wait to see picked up.
Again, he can't catch a break.
No,
I mean, yeah.
But he can catch a rat.
Huh. And Nick and Sabrina get glamorous and then expelled. They get expelled from the school for dressing up as the Spellmans and trying to get this confession, like a Law and Order or something from Father Blackwood, but he's too smart.
I wish they would call it
sees
no spelled, since that's more accurate.
And let's get into the dark design. What are the dark design where the production overthought this episode?
So just a couple quick things this episode. We had all the horror references last episode. Not going to get as in-depth as last episode, but one thing that I really did like when they were talking about the seating arrangement and when they're saying, Shirley isn't on this table, they mentioned Brother Barker, which is a reference to Clive Barker of Hellraiser fame. So they seem to have all of these little references.
That's cool.
Yeah, so they'll have different references to different kind of horror movie creators and stuff, and we'll see the different brothers that are alluded to most of the time are some sort of horror name, especially ones with hell in the title. So shout out to the Hellraiser. He's coming to your wedding.
Let's go. Let's get real, witches.
Hey witches, what's up? I want to talk today a little bit about the anti-pope because this is a concept that we've seen also done. I think I mentioned Horror Story not too long ago on this episode. The idea of the black pope, the anti-pope. It's not actually part of witchcraft. It's not part of anything satanic even. It comes from the Catholic Church, and the anti-pope is actually, there's no official list because people would declare these guys as heresy, essentially, and execute them. But anti-popes were just members of the church who disagreed with the legitimately elected pope and started getting too powerful and too cocky, and then they would, be offed a little bit later. And I think it's really interesting that we put all of the faith in the Church of Night in them when there really is no deity or higher power in witchcraft. You have the ability to pray to or worship whoever you want. You can invite your ancestors into a room, or you can invite your spirit guides, which is what I usually do, and I interact with them a lot. But there is no particular person. Hecate is a character, or a person rather, that shows up a lot in Wicca and pagan practices. And I've worshipped Hecate before. What I tend to do though, and a lot of people that I know, you'll bless your space, you'll bring in ancestors, maybe bless the north, south, east, and west, bring in anybody else you want. You can even tether them to objects and sort of build a familial bond over time. But the thing is, the flaw in the storyline is there is no one power, there is no one way of doing things. It's sort of like, let me invite this spirit in, whatever you want to worship to, Jesus, Satan, whoever, and let me tell you what I can do for you, what you can do for me, how we can work together toward our goals and better each other.
Sounds like a great relationship to me.
Well,
really good relationship.
It is.
I wish I could find someone like that. Oh my gosh, now I'm gonna have to go tether myself.
Well, I'm
You
not
may
gonna.
have found her, but then broke up with her because of that monologue.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
there you go.
What?
I just like finding out that the anti-pope is a Wiccan nope.
Yeah,
It's not a real
not
thing
a
at
real
all. I have
Catholic
no
Church,
idea.
that's your thing.
That's the concept. So
That's
much
your
to find
thing.
out.
Keep
We
your
have so
thing.
much more. There's so much more Sabrina going on. We only have a couple episodes left, so I love the fast pace of the show going on right now. Let's fast pace us. Where can people find you if you want to be found, Elena Jordan?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Elena Jordan and on Instagram at That Elena Jordan Girl.
And you can find me, Brendan Haley, at Brendan Haley on Instagram, Brendan Hales on Twitter, and you can find me here at AfterBuzz TV doing Supernatural, doing Queer Eye, so tune in.
You can find me, Veronica Valencia, on Twitter and Instagram at it's me, Veronica_V.
And I am Tehran, literally at I am Tehran. Hail Tehran. Find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, Snapchat, Yelp, I don't know, everything you can. And I'm on a slew of after shows here at AfterBuzz, just talking about stuff that I love. And I love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in each and every week. We will see you next week. Next week, by meaning next hour, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Part 2. We have episode 6 coming up. Stay tuned for more.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.